Hey, it's Vicky, and today I'm here to talk about the books that I read in February. February was a little bit of a slower month for me, and that's okay because February is a shorter month, right? So I did manage to read 4 books in February. I read 2 print books and 2 audiobooks, which totaled 1,463 pages. My average rating was a 3.63. So not as good as January, but still not terrible. I figure if it's ever above a 3.5, that's pretty good. So let's dive in. So the first book that I completed in February was Wrong Place, Wrong Time by Gillian McAllister, and this one I read for my Go With The Flow reading challenge. I had to read a book that had the author's initial was the same as the book I read in January for the same challenge, so M was the initial. And this is a thriller, but it's sort of different because it almost has like a speculative element to it, because we are dealing with a woman, I think her name was Jen, and she, at the very beginning of the book, witnesses her son commit a murder, like right outside their home. And it's devastating, and she doesn't understand what happened or why her son did this. And then she goes to bed that night, and when she wakes up, it's the day before the murder. And then she continues to go further and further and further back in time to basically understand why this event happened and to see if maybe she can change things. So what I really liked about this was that speculative element, because it just sort of made what would have been a pretty like ho-hum normal kind of thriller, made it sort of different and unique, and that she's basically time traveling, but she's going backwards. I thought that it helped make the story just a little more interesting, because you had these moments where she would find something out, but there wasn't really a whole lot she could do to change things, because she knew, she's like, if I wake up tomorrow and it's the day before, this isn't even gonna matter. So it was kind of interesting to do it that way. There wasn't a whole lot about this that was really predictable. There was one element that I did sort of guess, but I didn't guess it in its entirety. And I think that the way the whole mystery sort of unraveled, and you know, who it was that her son was killing and why, was a pretty good story. It was pretty good. So there was a part of this though that also kind of felt a little bogged down. I don't know why. It just felt sort of slow at times. So I ended up rating this a 3.75. But I did enjoy it. Like I said, it was kind of a unique thriller, and I would recommend it to anybody that likes speculative stuff and or thrillers. And then the next book that I read for February was for my 100 Epic Reads project. I read Far From the Madding Crowd by Thomas Hardy. So I'm not going to go into detail about this because I did a whole vlog about this book where I talked about my feelings about it. So if you want to check out that vlog, go watch it, but I gave this one a 3.5 stars. So the next 2 books that I read in February were ones that came in from my library. They're new releases, and so when the holds came in, I had to read them. So the first one, I listened to it on audio, but I also had the physical book from the library, and that was Let's Call Her Barbie by Renee Rosen. And this is it's fiction, because some of the characters in the book are fictional characters that the author made up, but for the most part, this is a historical fiction about how the iconic Barbie was made. And I really liked this book. I thought that it was surprisingly funny at times, because I didn't know that, you know, Mattel, the toy company, had some pretty unique challenges in coming up with Barbie and designing Barbie that I didn't even ever really think about, that were some of them were pretty funny in terms of some of the anatomy and then also just some of the clothing design choices and things like that. It was really interesting, and it was cool too to kind of see into the lives of some of the people that made this iconic toy. But like I said, some of the characters were fictional, but for the most part they were real people, and it was interesting to see, you know, how their lives were amidst trying to make this what we now know as, you know, one of the greatest toys of all time, which is Barbie, and what the vision was for Barbie in the beginning and that sort of thing. It was really interesting, very informative. And the audiobook was well done. It was narrated by Abigail Reno. And yeah, I really liked it. This was actually my favorite book that I read this month, and I gave it 4 stars. And then I read another anticipated 2025 release, finished out the month by reading Good Dirt by Charmaine Wilkerson. And this one I wanted to read because I read Charmaine Wilkerson's book, Black Cake, a couple years ago, and I really liked it. So when I saw she had a new book coming out, I wanted to read it. And this one centers around a family. They live in, I want to say Connecticut. And they live in an affluent neighborhood. They are a black family, and one day their teenage son Baz is killed in a home invasion. He's shot to death. And in the process, this family heirloom was also damaged during the event, and that was also very devastating to the family because this heirloom has been in their family for generations, and it was basically this jar that was made during slavery times by one of their ancestors, and it meant a lot to them. And so you get sort of 2 stories in this book. You get, in the present day, you have Abby, who is the daughter in the family, and she is going through some stuff. Her and her fiance have broken up, and she's kind of trying to figure out her next move. And then on the other side, you have the sort of historical aspect where you go back into history and you see the making of that family heirloom, that jar, and how it sort of came to be made and how it kind of traveled through the generations to get to our current day family. And I really feel a little conflicted about this book. I really liked the plot with the jar and seeing its journey. I thought that was really interesting. I liked the characters and everything. The present day story, I think, was a little boring to me. I wasn't super invested. Without getting too into like spoilers, it deals with Abby and that ex-fiance, and then sort of the drama with them. And I just didn't really, I don't know, I just didn't really connect with it. I wasn't really interested. So it's one of those situations where there were 2 plot lines in the book, and one of them I really liked and one of them I could have done without. So it made for sort of a slow read because the plot that I liked was not as prominent in the book as the other plot points. So I spent a lot of time reading the plot that I wasn't super interested in. So overall, I gave this one 3 stars. I definitely think that Black Cake was a better book. But I will definitely continue to read Charmaine Wilkerson's future books because this one wasn't terrible. It just wasn't my favorite. So yeah. So that's it, guys. Those were the books I read in February. Like I said, it was a little bit of a slower month, a little lighter. But yeah, let me know down below if you read any of these books and what you thought of them, because I'd love to know. And let me know what your favorite book in February was. And I guess that's it. I hope that March treats you well, and I will chat with you soon. Thank you so much for watching.